Star Wars movies as we are, you've probably daydreamed once or twice about being part of an epic space battle. Well, thanks to the team at LucasArts, that daydream is now virtually a reality. They've created Starfighter, the flight combat game that lets you star as the pilot of your very own Starfighter from Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. But don't forget to strap yourself in. Starfighter is being powered by the PlayStation 2 and an incredible storyline.
It's just a blockade. There's a full-scale invasion going on.
We start off a little bit before Episode 1, Phantom Menace starts. And we kind of follow a parallel storyline that's behind the scenes, kind of.
The story is about three characters, Reese, Vanna, and Nim. These are three characters who don't know each other. Reese is a naval fighter pilot who's training. Nim is a pirate. And Vanna is a mercenary out for hire. And these are characters who, if they know each other, it's only loosely, and in fact, Nim and Vanna are kind of semi-enemies.
Think you can flank the Vanna Sage? Yeah.
And each of these three characters has been wronged in some way or has been screwed over by the Trade Federation. Midway through the Starfighter game, after you've learned exactly what the Trade Federation has done to tick these guys off, the three characters, Vanna, Reese, and Nim, come together and in concert work to deal a little bit back at the Trade Federation.
What makes a video game great, besides awesome visuals, are fascinating characters and well-thought-out storylines. Starfighter not only has both, but it goes one step further and intertwines the stories of these three main characters.
We're approaching a training minefield. They'll give you a chance to familiarize yourself with your targeting system.
And you follow this one pilot, Reese Dallos, kind of through his training, and then his royal escort, and then he kind of gets split off from the events of the movie onto his own storyline.
And I think at that point the player is sort of wondering, what are these three characters and what do they have to do with each other? And that's one of the things that we tell through the structure of the game is as a play, they start to go, oh, okay, now I see how these two characters are related, or I see how they're going to come together and they're going to work together towards the ultimate goals.
Well, Nim, my know-it-all co-pilot is just taking out the landing platform first.
The player starts out playing a number of missions from each character in turn, and then when the characters join forces, we start just beating them, right and left with new characters. And play this character and you go back to this character, and that allows us to tell this story from a bunch of different points of view.
The LucasArts team is no stranger to designing ships for space, and most of the ones in Starfighter are based on designs from the movie. The challenge they had to come up with was a vehicle for Nim and the other pirates.
We needed to come up with a whole new line of vehicles that were around the pirates. We wanted them to have a very distinctive look, a cohesive look. And what we came up with is something that looks like 60s hot rods, with cool paint jobs, but then there's Bondo on the side, and there's big giant engines on them.
They really are like painting your own car, big flames on the side. They all have their unique look for the character, all kind of metal and over the top, and you can tell that it looks like they all painted their own vehicle.
As in any flight combat game, control is critical, and no one knows that better than this creative team. With Starfighter, their mission was to find a way to help those who might find themselves flying upside down, or worse.
We wanted a game that allowed the player to fly around in any dimension, so if they want to fly up and do a loop or flip over upside down, we wanted to give them complete freedom in the environment. But one of the challenges that creates for some players is they'll get upside down and it's difficult for them to get flipped back around. For Starfighter, we realized we couldn't restrict the player without frustrating the player, but at the same time we wanted to give them the ability to get themselves righted really quickly. So we added some buttons. When you actually push down on the analog controllers and right yourself, you can right yourself with roll and you right yourself in pitch, and so you can get yourself squared up to the terrain and flying forward.
Starfighter is the first PlayStation 2 game from LucasArts. We were interested in knowing what it was like to work with this powerful platform.
We were able to throw just enormous amounts of texture and geometry at the screen. When you look out in these environments, it just seemed to go on forever. That's just the raw power of the PlayStation.
Working with PlayStation 2 was, you don't know the boundaries. I didn't know how far to push it. I'm used to doing like Nintendo games and PlayStation games, and there's those barriers that everybody realizes. So I just kind of keep pushing until the programmer's telling me to stop.
And the philosophy on the Starfighter team is essentially this. The programming team is at the service of the art and level design team. I like to think of it as, we build picture frames. Ultimately, the art team and level design team makes the picture, and that's the important thing.
how about this size texture? What about this geometry count? Can we have particle systems, and what kind of effects can we have? And it almost seemed limitless.
In the past, you really had to worry about the number of particles you had in a particle system. These days, I mean, you can put a lot of particles up there and not really worry too much about slowing the game down. In fact, that's kind of a danger, of course. I mean, you want to make sure that you're not just saying, oh, well, I can draw a million particles, why don't I? I mean, it all has to be in service of the gameplay, and it all has to be done in a context that it makes sense. And so what that really implies is we need to do everything we can to take all this tremendous power that we've got with the PlayStation 2 and put it into the hands of the artists, put it into the hands of the level designers, expose that stuff in a generic and flexible way. And, you know, we suspected that if we did that well, we'd be surprised. And were we ever?
Man all defenses, prep the transports for evac. Hustle!
Affirmative. Hostiles approaching from orbit. We've got Nandas, 12 o'clock high.
We have a pirate base mission, Janim Pirate Base, which is inside of a double impact crater.
And his base is kind of snugged up against the walls, and you have ships down there and docking facilities. And the Trade Federation comes in, and they are trying to get back some stolen technology, and they raid Nim's base in the middle of the night.
And in just comes massive amounts of Trade Federation forces. It's very clear very quickly that, of course, the pirate base is not going to survive, and at that point it becomes an extremely hectic, frantic scramble to get people out of that base as quickly as possible.
It's dark, you see lit up buildings, you see lights. All of a sudden, turrets start going crazy, and things are coming in from space, and it's black up there, and all you see is shadows of big landers coming down. They're kind of blocking out the stars, and you see tracers going across the sky. I mean, it looks like a war zone, and you've got people yelling and screaming. I think the whole experience is extremely immersive for me.
Scratch that, sir. Got him on my sensors. Help him out.
Dim, I'm sending you the target. Get this guy.